Hey everyone, this time we're going to be looking at Hardcore Gaming 101 Digest, Volume 5, and this is going to be on the Treasure games. This is probably my favorite of these books so far. Treasure is a company that I didn't really know existed back when I started playing these, and then eventually I kind of figured out what games they were doing, and they're all really fun. They were never like a major publisher, but they were a developer for a lot of other well-known publishers. Treasure was one of those companies that really burned bright back in the early and, well, throughout the 90s and also into the 2000s as well. First game series we're going to kind of cover with them is Gunstar Heroes. This was a really fun game. I didn't know that it was on the Game Gear. I knew about the Genesis port, but the Game Gear one was kind of a weird thing for me. And you do get a few little comparisons between the Genesis and the Game Gear, and they look fairly close, but the Genesis is probably going to be a little bit more of a wide shot, less compacted like the Game Gear was. I didn't know about a few of the other Gunstar Hero games, so this was really nice to see these all put together. Yeah, the way I found out about these was I had a friend who basically jumped on the Genesis bandwagon pretty late and just decided to tell me that this was the best game ever. He's wrong, but it's still a really great game and a really great series. So just the number of games that Treasure actually made was pretty amazing to me. Even going through this book, I found some that I wasn't really sure that they actually did, but was really surprised and kind of pleasantly surprised that they were the ones that did them. Especially with Dynamite Heady and Light Crusader. Light Crusader is a fun game, and Treasure did just a really great job with this. It's kind of crazy when you see just what they did. They really stuck to this 2D sprite model, whether it was isometric or just your typical side-scroller, and they did just an amazing job with these games. And I'm glad to see they didn't really venture out of this, even if they did make some 2.5D games. It's just really cool to see that they stuck to what they knew and just did an amazing job with it. And we also get into a few of the other things that they did, like Radiant Silvergun. Some of these we never got in the US, which is a real shame, especially with Radiant Silvergun. It's an amazing shooter for the Sega Saturn, and kind of one of those things that shows just how badly Sega actually botched the launch and really the entire run of the Sega Saturn. The next series we're going to look at is Bangai-O. This was a really cool one that I didn't know had some follow-ups to it, and I didn't know that it was released on the N64. I thought it was just a Dreamcast game. So seeing that it was on the N64 and also seeing some of the cases of censorship that they show here, it's really kind of cool to see that. I just really like it when I get to see a series that I didn't know had more games in the series or alternate versions of that game released. It's really fun to actually read, and I'm glad that Hardcore Gaming threw. So Treasure did a bunch of other things. Aside from their regular games, they also did a lot of licensed titles as well. And they throw in just this nice thing here where it's just a bunch of other Treasure games that were added in. I'm not 100% sure why they didn't go more in depth into these, because you see later on in the book they kind of go off the rails a little bit again. But I would have liked to see more in depth with these other games that are listed here. And kind of tying into Radiant Silvergun and a little bit with the Sega Saturn, at the end of this we get 80 Japanese Sega Saturn games, which I really think a lot of these should have been released in the US. Yeah, Sega of America did some really stupid stuff near the end where they just kind of decided they wanted to do this whole 5-star model, which I don't think really made a whole lot of sense because we lost out on a bunch of Sega Saturn games that I think would have been really great here in the US. It's one of the reasons why the Sega Saturn is a pretty cool system if you want to get into the import titles, because there is so much more that we didn't get a chance to play. Just a bunch of really great games that could have definitely helped out the Sega Saturn here in the US. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. As I said, this is probably my favorite book out of the series. Treasures is just one of those really awesome companies that you might not have known a lot about it when you were growing up and playing some of their games, but it's just a really great company, and I love that they stuck with the 2D model for pretty much throughout their entire run. They are still around today, and they're still doing an awesome job with what they have. Anyway, guys, I will talk to you all later, and have a great day.